Hello and welcome to the Crone Zone. I'm Lynn and this is the astrology report for the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. In the UK, this will be happening on the 14th of February. You may need to adjust for different time zones, and it will be occurring at 06:59 in the morning. The actual full moon is just a few minutes before, so very, very close. The two really are as one. This is the first of the eclipses this year and is part of a season of eclipses that's happening in March. But also we have Equinox happening in between the two eclipses. So we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo on the 14th. We then have the equinox on the 20th, and then on the 29th we have a partial solar eclipse in Aries. So it's part of a sequence of events, and in a very magical way, Venus is bookending all of this. Let me speak just a little bit about Venus, because you know here at the Crone Zone we do follow the Venus cycle. It's been a very long, cold, grey, miserable winter, exceedingly wet one in the UK. But something that has buoyed me up and got me through these months has been the presence of Venus in our skies. And on clear nights, seeing Venus up there has been absolutely amazing. Venus now has gone retrograde in Aries, and she will move backwards into Pisces, and she will go into the underworld or the shadow realms when she meets with the sun and becomes invisible to us. She's already beginning to disappear from our skies. You may be able to get just the very last glimpse of her. Now, Venus in Aries, as she currently is Venus in a very yang mode. It's a more yang or masculinized version of Venus. We think of her as the association with the divine feminine, but here she's carrying many of the traits, the outward going traits, the yang energy coming from Aries. And at the same time, her counterpoint, Mars, with whom she's going to be doing something of a dance in the future, in these months to come, is in Cancer. And this is a rather yin version of Mars. So we're seeing a feminized Mars and a masculinized Venus. And this, I think, is talking to the need for synthesis and the need to avoid divisions, polarities, and to see that everything is far more subtly interwoven in all sorts of senses than it can appear. So altogether it will be 3 times that Venus will pass over 0 degrees of Aries, which is the moment of the spring equinox. She already did this when she moved direct into Aries. She is now retrograding back into Pisces. She's going to join with the sun. She's going to be one with the sun, and from that underworld journey will become all sorts of empowerments, which will be coming very much to mind for reasons I will get into. And then she will eventually go direct again and go back over both the North Node and the 0 degrees point of Aries, the point of the equinox. So she is very, very involved with the processes that are going on at the moment. In the last video that I did on the Pisces new moon, I spoke about how impossible it is for us to know what is going on at the moment. The fact that we cannot know, we have to, in a sense, surrender knowing, because it's just not possible to see clearly at this point in time. And I also said that with so much movement to and fro, back and forth of several of the planets over the North Node, which is our direction of travel, our point of growth, nothing that is formulating now will necessarily stick. There will be revisions, things will be revised, things that we think are happening won't be happening. Nothing at this point is certain, and that is disconcerting, and I'm afraid that that remains for the time being with the full moon eclipse here. It is as if all the pieces of the jigsaw have been thrown up into the air, or as if we are viewing an explosion in slow-mo and seeing all the particles, but not being able to say how they will coalesce, how things will solidify, how things will come into being. We can't say that at this point. But not having control over the macro picture does not mean that we are powerless. Far from it. Because as I've said in the title of this video, it is very important now that we're living from the inside out, not the outside in. And this is the card that signifies change, the Wheel of Fortune. And we can see that the outer rim of the wheel turns. We don't know which directions it turns in. It brings up all kinds of monsters and strange creatures there. If we ride the outer rim of the wheel, that is, attach ourselves to external events, we will be buffeted, we will be unseated, we will be disconcerted, could be made fearful, feel knocked off centre. The place where there is the minimum of disturbance and turbulence is right here at the centre of the wheel, the hub of the wheel, the inner point of the self. And if we stay there and stay within our own empowerment, our own sovereignty, then that is going to be our best way forward. And there are things that this eclipse is calling us to do, work within ourselves that it is calling us to do, that we certainly can do. And it's my belief that in so doing, then we really affect the way that all those pieces of the jigsaw, the blast, will come together. Because the future isn't set. We can contribute to its setting. So what's going on at this full moon lunar eclipse? Well, like all full moons, the sun and the moon are opposite each other. But in this instance, the Earth is in between the two of them. And so the light of the sun is blocked from shining onto the moon by the Earth, which is in the way. And this obscures the moon, and it will completely obscure the moon. It will grow darker and assume a reddish colour. It's often known as a blood moon when this happens. It won't be visible everywhere. It's not visible in the UK. It's happening very early in the morning here, probably as it's light anyway. But it probably is visible in North and South America, I think Australia, parts of Africa. There's parts of the world where it will be visible. But what does it signify? Well, you know, there are people who are saying it's a bit of a bad moon rising, to quote the old song, but I think we can look at it in a different way to that. Virgo is on the South Node. It's a Virgo total lunar eclipse. Now, Virgo is a wonderful sign with sterling qualities, but because this is an eclipse and because it's South Node, we're looking at some of the attributes of Virgo that we need to shed, that we need to release and let go of. So what might some of those be? Well, worry is one of them. Virgo is a sign very prone to anxiety, to worrying, overthinking, staying and letting the mind overwhelm us with all of its different chatter. It is also a sign that is very self-judging, is very self-critical, can expect unreasonable degrees of perfection, never see what's been done well, only that little thing that hasn't been done well. So it can be a sign of self-sabotage. Where we have Virgo by house in our charts may be an area where we need to watch that we're not doing this, that we're not indulging in self-cruelty, self-criticism. And also, if we're criticising and judging ourselves, then it is likely that we're going to be holding other people in the rather poor light of that criticism and judgment. So it's about releasing those things. It's about letting those things go. So if we're inclined to negative, carping self-talk, or to running scripts in our head that diminish us or harm our spirit, then it really is time to let go of those. It's also time to let go of over-analysis and to move more to the Piscean side where the sun is, to the heart, to the emotions, to a more loving perspective and a non-judgmental one. Because Pisces, the sun in Pisces, the North Node in Pisces, offers us those things. Now, I also want to pick up on Virgo as being the nature goddess in the chart, if you like, as being Demeter, as being the earth goddess. I think this is very important. So I think as well some of the damage and harm and shame attached to the female body can also be released at this time. There's this need to purify those things, to release some of the negativity that has been attached to the female. And I think that ties in very well with Venus's journey now, and to the information and this deeper understanding she'll be gaining from the sun in her own journey into the underworld. And it's also time to refuse to release any idea of being victimized. That has to go. That's no longer a part that we're able to play anymore. So if we're looking for that self-criticism that says if we're not absolutely perfect, it's not good enough. You know, no matter how good we are or what we achieve, it's never enough. It's never good enough. We're never good enough. That is something that needs to be released, and in its place become a more accepting, embracing of the whole of who we are, and the move to be whole, not perfect. We do not need to be perfect. Being whole and being perfect are not the same. So we can use this opportunity of the eclipse to release, to work on ourselves, to do that inner work. It will offer us a portal to do that. And a real, it's almost like it vacuums up those things and takes them away. It's a very, very good opportunity for releasing, for purifying, that we can take advantage of. But I do want to give some other warnings about the eclipse. Perhaps warnings is too strong a word, but the moon is the divine feminine, and it is going to be obscured by the sun. And the moon is also our bodies, so we could be feeling that our physical energy is depleted. We could be feeling very tired. And I would say that this is a time to perhaps keep calm, to self-nurture, to sleep more, to take care of the body, because I think we will be feeling the hit of the eclipse there. As well, of course, of all the craziness that's going on, upon which the planets in Pisces offer us at this point no clarity whatsoever. So we're in very uncertain territory. So it becomes very important to self-nurture, to look after ourselves, to take good care of ourselves, so that we can actually be doing that work, and so that we can be living from the inside out, and so that we can ride the inner part of the wheel and not be churned around like Flotsam and Jetsam. Now, just one day after the lunar eclipse, so on the 15th, Mercury will move retrograde. And so you can see that when Mercury is retrograde, it's a point of revisiting, revising, redoing, returning, going back, all of the re-words. So again, things that come up at the point of the eclipse in the external world are not likely to stay as they are. They're going to be revisited, they're going to be revised, looked at again. Nothing yet is fixed. But Mercury will be catching up with Venus and will be travelling with Venus as she goes into the underworld. And therefore Mercury will make conscious much of what Venus is exploring there. So that's going to be quite an incredible combination. And so we could be seeing real insights there. One of the insights may be into the fact that we are out of our comfort zone. Venus being quite a planet that loves the comfort zone, addicted to its luxuries, as it were. So we could be feeling that a little bit, and that could be coming into mind. There could also be more profound insights that are arising from that dual journey of Mercury and Venus. But again, we can be sure that things that are happening will be unpicked, the knitting will be unravelled and restitched. Nothing's going to stick just now. Our wounds, our insecurities, signified by Chiron, are being sextiled by Uranus. So this could be a triggering of where we feel vulnerable, of where we feel wounded. And that might also be exacerbated by the fact that Mars in Cancer is coming into an applying square with Chiron. So again, it wouldn't be surprising if we are feeling triggered here, if we're feeling fearful. We should be perhaps prepared that might be the case. Expect that to be happening, that triggering to be happening, but preempt it. Think, ahead that, yes, I'm feeling like that. That is normal in these circumstances. I do not have to stay in the wounding. I'm conscious of it, but I don't have to remain in it. It's very important to stay at our centre as much as we possibly can. In many ways, this first eclipse sets the ground for the second eclipse at the end of the month, and we should be seeing, how things are unfolding then. But in between the two eclipses comes the moment of equinox. And of course, this is a time when the earth is incredibly renewed. When the hours of daylight at the point of equinox, the hours of daylight and night are equal in balance, at a very magical point of time. And then thereafter, the light grows, the days grow longer, and we have the spring, the burgeoning of nature. And one of the points that just occurs to me very strongly here is that this is, from our point of view, something that has been happening longer than man has been on the planet. You know, this is a creative earth energy and force in tune with the cosmos, because it happens with the sun, that has happened forever from our point of view. I think it's good to remember that the powerful, the tyrants, those who seem to be so supreme, will be buried in the sand, will be lost under the sands of time. But points like the equinox, of that renewal and of the spring and of the energy of the earth and that renewal of the sun, and planets and the vision of planets and stars and Venus, these will endure. These will go on, and so will our hearts. They will go on. And we must remember that we're cut from the same cloth as that. We are one with those. We have the power and the magic of those things within us. And we must hold fast in turbulent times. I think it's important to stay with those core messages here. We have work to do. We have personal work we can be getting on with. The world, I'm afraid, is still crazy at the moment and will remain so for some time. But we can contribute to a better formation for the future by the work that we do with ourselves, and by holding fast to our own light and vision of what the future can be, and by staying out of fear, staying out of reactivity, refusing to be like Chicken Licken who feels the sky is falling in. Those are things that we can certainly be doing now. And who knows, maybe for us personally, this eclipse may bring releases and insights, and we'll look back and see it as an important staging point on our journey into the future. Whatever you are doing, I do hope that you stay well and that you stay in a place of self-love, and that all goes well for you. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. Bye-bye.